Hey guys, today we're going to talk about you increasing your damage from when you start the game to end game. So I'm going to try and cover everything possible that you can do to increase your damage. First things first, you're going to craft weapons. Now, did you start late? Have you creating friends in the world? They can help you get through the game. Let me show you how. Go to their workbench and you can craft higher tier weapons than your current level. So if you're level 40, you can craft a level tier 5 weapon. If you're 30, you can do tier 4, 20, tier 3, 10, tier 2. So if you get to those levels, you can craft these weapons to help you get through content. Once you've created your weapon and you have materials, or again, if you have friends that have finished the game and have plenty of materials, go and calibrate your weapon. Each tier has different calibration caps, if I remember correctly. But when you get to 50, you can calibrate a weapon to 10. So here's my axe. I'm going to keep upgrading it. And as you can see, it's using materials. So if you have the materials, the higher the calibration, the more damage the weapon will do. Now, another thing is you're going to be able to find weapons in the world, from chests, from bosses. As you can see, this is dropped gear. Now, it's already calibrated at level 4. So what you don't want to do is calibrate this to level 10, because once this gear breaks, loses all durability, you cannot repair dropped gear. So do not calibrate dropped gear unless you have plenty of materials and you want to test out weapons for builds. I must make that clear. When a dropped weapon, you cannot repair. So we've covered weapons. Now it's armor. As you level up, you're going to get different blueprints like the heavy duty, agent, falcon, and some of these sets are great. What you want to do is put different sets together to create bonuses. For example, I'm wearing a Bastille jacket. When HP is above 70%, I get 10% weapon damage. Then I've paired it with some Renegade pants that I get 2 pieces of Renegade, will give me reload speed and weak spot damage. Play around with the bonuses of these sets to create a build for the type of weapon that you have. For example, if you're using a burn build, you would like to use the grill gloves, which increase burn damage by 100%. So have a look at what weapon you're using and then work out what build or gear sets you want. There's plenty of builds on the internet. They're all the best. Go check them out and create your set by then. If you keep wearing random gear sets, you're not going to do much damage. Some of these armor sets have this shine to the gear. That is what is called a key gear set. You can only wear one of them, so use the one for your build. For example, I'm using a bullseye build with my bingo. So when hitting marked enemies, I do 30% more damage. Each different gun has a different type of way it plays. There's plenty of key gear items that you can play around with. Just choose the right one for your build. While we're on the same subject of armor, you can calibrate your armor as well. Why would you want to do that? Good question. So armor has something called PSI intensity. Now, a lot of status damage builds require PSI intensity to do damage. Now, this Renegade hood is 92 at base. But if you calibrate it like I have to 6 out of 6, it goes to 129. So If I had an elemental weapon, I would be doing more damage to enemies because of my higher PSI intensity on all my gear. So it's also important for survivability to upgrade your weapon and armor so you can get the most damage possible. Another way to increase your damage or PSI intensity is by upgrading the blueprints for your gear. So what you want to do is go blueprints, go to the gun that you have. So see, my last Valor does 264 damage at the moment. If I want to upgrade it, it's 2 stars, it will do 277 damage. So you click down here to check how many fragments you have, and I don't have enough to upgrade it to level 2, and I'm not really into upgrading my last Valor at the moment. But all your blueprints will pop up here, and this is how you increase stars on your gear or your weapon. How do you get more blueprints? Well, you got to do the wish machine. Get Starcrum, and I've got a guide on all the ways you can get Starcrum. Go to your wish machine and make a wish. So you can target stuff. Like if I want to upgrade my sniper rifle, I'd go to Bounty Hunter, roll here so I can get guaranteed bingo fragments. The other way you can get a lot of fragments is Echoes of the Rift. At 500, you can get so many blueprints that you can just upgrade most weapons if you can't target farm for the weapon that you want. So that's how you get more blueprints. It's the only way until they make it easier for us to get blueprints. This is the only way we're going to get it. Otherwise, you can go buy a direct blueprint of what gun you want from the blueprint shop by pressing G. So we've got our weapons calibrated, upgraded. The next is to fill our gear with mods. What mods should I use? Well, what you need to do is figure out what your weapon has. So let's use the last Valor as an example. My last Valor is a shrapnel gun. So shrapnel is the damage that revolves around the last Valor. So if I go to my last Valor, as you can see, I've got a little tab on the left here that you can't see behind my camera, where all my shrapnel mods are. You can use the general mods, but just experiment with whatever gun you have, but there's certain mods for certain builds. Right now, if the more shrapnel parts I hit, the higher shrapnel damage. Each part is 15%. That's what I would use on my Scar. But I'm using the bullseye bingo gun at the moment. So my whole build is around the bullseye and marked enemies. And I go for weak spot damage. So what have I done? I've gotten mods that increase weak spot damage. Do you understand how it all works together? There's a lot of mods in the game, so I would not use this unstable bomber mod for my bullseye build because my weapon doesn't do unstable bomber damage. Another thing you can do to figure out what damage your weapon does is go to the keyword down here and you can see all the types of damage in the game. There's bullseye, frost vortex, shrapnel, fast gunner, power surge, bounce, unstable bomber, burn, fortress warfare, and blunt damage. All weapons are all different. Some of them have the similar sort of play around. Like I said, check online, look up builds. There's plenty out there, and build your gear and weapons with the mods that require you to do more damage. Now, if you use mods that do not work with your build, your damage is going to go poo-poo. So if I'm doing my shrapnel build and I'm wearing a unstable bomber gear, then that unstable bomber gear is not going to do anything to my shrapnel. Now you're asking, okay, I need mods. Where do I get them from? Good question. You can loot mods from chests from all the cities on the map. That's one way to do it. Or there is silos. Each silo has a different mod they drop. So this securement silo theta drops the chest mod here. If I was to go to Sahi, it drops pants. If I was to go to Alpha, it drops the headgear. So all the different silos drop different mod pieces. So if you want to target a mod drop, go to each silo that drops it, and eventually it'll drop for you. Now, once you've found your mods, it doesn't end there. This is where the game RNG comes in. So as I said, I'm going for a bullseye weak spot damage build. Now, what ends up happening is once you get the mod that you want, there's these 4 attribute effects that will randomly drop when you get the mod. So depending on what build you're going, you want certain stats. For mine, I want weak spot damage and weapon damage. Okay, some people might want crit damage and crit rate. So it's very difficult to get the perfect mod. That's what the farming is for. So you keep going till you see what mod has the best attributes for your playstyle. So as you can see, I've gotten 4 precise strikes here. I've got one with crit damage, weak spot damage 1.8%, weak spot damage 3.6%, but I've got one here that has 5.4%. Now, another way to increase your damage is to right click and enhance this mod. Now, what ends up happening when you enhance the mod? To enhance the mod, you need energy links and fragments. To get fragments, you need to go to your disassembly bench, and up the top, it will show you that you can disassemble mods that you do not want. And you'll get these armor mod parts or the weapon ones. Now, once you get to this screen, you cannot choose which part of the attribute you get to enhance. Now, for content, like I said, I would have wanted a weak spot damage attribute and weapon damage attribute, but unlucky I didn't get it. But for content, I'm going to show you that how RNG this game is. So I want to try and get weak spot damage higher on this mod. I would press hold F, and it did the weapon damage reduction. I got unlucky there. Now, you can't upgrade the mod indefinitely. See how he says 1 out of 5? I have 4 more chances to try and upgrade this mod. Now, as you can see, also, the energy link increased, and the armor mod fragments parts also increased. So if I want to try and upgrade it again, damage against normal enemies went up this time. As you can see, this is how the RNG works in this game. So make sure you get the mod that you want, try and upgrade it, make sure you save up energy links and armor mod parts, and that's how you enhance your mods. Another very important thing to do for your build or weapon that you're holding is your cradle. Now, cradle slots are locked at the start when you start a character, and you'll unlock them as you level and after finishing the silos required to unlock the spot. Why I say this is important, each one of these things or cradle perks affects your weapon or build. For example, after hitting a weak spot, status damage plus 25%. So if I had a weapon that had caused status damage and I hit a weak spot, boom, all the status damage 25%. That is massive. But if you don't have status damage and you choose this, it's useless. It's absolutely useless. I use a sniper, so I've got long range enhancement, and I use a pistol, a handgun. So I've got 20% damage on my pistol, and I'll reload 1 ammo reserve after I defeat an enemy. And I've got 20% on my sniper. Each one of these increases your damage in some way. Some don't affect your build or gun, like this one, Deviation Master. Having it fight alongside grants damage against Deviants, 50%. So if you have your Deviant out for the fight, you'll get 50% damage against Deviants. Here is Master Tactician. After using a tactical item, damage against Great Ones, bosses, is 25% for 15 seconds. So these two benefit PvE playstyle. You would not use these for PvP. So make sure you choose the perks that are good for your build. Otherwise, if you have random ones, if you keep switching weapons, please make sure that you have the right ones. Now, if you have multiple builds, if you go to gear, down here, it says save, press H. You can have loadouts for each type of situation. So with my bingo PvP, it even saves the cradle, the gear that I have, and it even saves the mods. It switches the mods around so you don't have to do it manually every time. So please save your loadouts, put your mods in properly, have your gear, have your cradle for each different playstyle that you have. So you've got your gear, you've upgraded, you've got your cradle. Now, who will be in your backpack? If you want to go all out damage, there's a few things you can do with Deviants to increase your damage. For example, this jellyfish, which you get from the cargo scramble, increases frost damage received by surrounding targets by 27% with frost vortex. You see what I mean? So if you're a frost vortex build, you want to use this Deviant. If you're using a physical damage build, the Lone Wolf's Whisper, which you get from the Shadow Hound, I think is called. It increases weapon damage received by a target by 21% if you put it on auto attack. If you use bounce, when a target triggers bounce, one tentacle is guaranteed to spawn next to the target, cooldown every 5 seconds. Spawned will increase the player's damage by 17% up to 70% damage. If you use bounce, this is the Deviant for you. Mr. Wish. He is marking targets with bullseye. And as I've gone through this video, I use bullseye. So there's mods that if you hit an enemy that's hit by a bullseye, will increase damage. So this guy might be the guy to get. He comes from a silo, the mini Vista, and drops from the world events where, you know, see that purple glowing light. So I've got plenty of them. And then if you're doing a melee build, I have to include this guy. If you do a melee build, this guy will automatically move to a target when you're holding a melee weapon. So if you're holding a melee weapon and you've got this guy out, you will teleport to an enemy and attack it. So this is such a fun Deviant. Try out a melee build. I'm going to try one. because I've seen how much fun people are having. So yeah, guys, experiment with Deviants to see which one you need for your build, and again, you'll increase your damage. As I said before, in the Cradle, there's stuff to increase your damage. Now, what people are doing in their videos to get high damage numbers on their test dummies is using this steady hand perk, which, while in Fortress Warfare or Fast Gunner status, weak spot damage is plus 40%, and weak spot damage to the bullseye target is 20%. So, if you're a Fast Gunner, you've got no problem, or you actually use Fortress Warfare weapons, you've absolutely got no problem. But what people are using is this long axe. And as you can see, is heavy attacks activate the Fortress Warfare up to 10 seconds. Now what ends up happening is people take out their axe, right click, jump to activate Fortress Warfare. Then take out their weapon, and get the extra damage. Now, I've got buffs active. This is my weapon without my buffs active. I do 4,000 damage. But take out my Fortress Warfare weapon, right click, jump, activate Fortress Warfare, take out my pistol, 6,000 damage. That's just with the Fortress Warfare buff. Again, one of the things I touched on the Cradle was this Master Tactician. Now, after using a tactical item, damage against bosses is 25% for 15 seconds. So, another thing you can do while you're doing bosses, that's very, very easy to start it off, is go to your supplies bench, go to tools, and craft a throwing dagger. After you've crafted a bunch of daggers, what you want to do, which is very important, go to settings, scroll down to control, gameplay control, quick use items. Now why I say this is, once you put your daggers on your bar down the bottom, so mine is on F2, what you do when you start bosses, you just press F2 and it'll throw the dagger. So the combo would be, for maximum damage, is Warfare, dagger, take out your weapon, make sure you have it reloaded, and do the damage. So that's what you can do to maximize your DPS using those two Cradle perks. Since we're here at the supplies bench, I know it might be obvious, but crafting different levels of ammo can increase your damage. Now, the absolute cheapest way you can do, because your Digby's get a lot of ore to craft steel ammo, you could do most of the PvE with steel ammo, no problem. But if you want to get competitive with your friends, or you want to do PvP, you want to craft tungsten AP ammo. Now, why is that? Because you can customize the ammo itself. If you use the gunpowder, it will only use 5% increase from your normal tungsten bullet, which gives you 10%. But if you select different material like the platinum crystal, it will give 25% damage when in the fast gunner or fortress warfare status. So if you use gold ore, triggering shock or unstable bomber will increase the PSI intensity by 12% for 3 seconds. We talked about that PSI intensity. The more PSI intensity, the more status damage you're going to do. Now, for electronic parts, shrapnel damage, bounce, or bullseye will increase 10% damage for 3 seconds. So using this tungsten AP ammo and the material that you need for your build will increase your damage dramatically. Like I said, you could do most of the content with steel, but it's up to you if you want to have the competitive edge in PvP or PvE. last but not least is food. Now, each different build has a certain food that will increase their damage. So the canned meat will increase damage to shrapnel by 20%. But if you look down throughout your list, I've got my bullseye build and I do weak spot damage. So I like the assorted canned fruit. 25% damage to weak spot damage when sanity is above 80%. So I'd want that. If you're going for PSI intensity or status damage, the whimsical drink gives 25% status damage bonus. That's a drink. Now, what you can do is have drink and food buffs. So you can have the assorted canned fruit and the whimsical drink. So sort by the meats and the drinks, and you can have two different buffs at the same time. I've also heard, and I haven't tried it myself, that the steak combos can actually stack. And same with the fish, fried fish, the canned fish. So if anyone knows about that, let me know. They do slightly less boosts, but you can stack a whole bunch of them. With the canned stuff, I know you can only have one canned food and one drink buff. So if anyone else knows about the pan fried fish and the steak combo, let me know in the comments. I'd like to know that. But the fishing one is a little bit annoying to fish for food to make the buff, these small buffs. So there's one that does 10% fire rate, which is massive, but stuff like crit damage by 5%, I don't know. Is it worth the fishing to get that slight edge? I don't know. Like I said, the PvE content is quite easy at the moment. So, but yeah, guys, there you have it. All the ways that you can increase your damage. So that's it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. And if this video helped you, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. Really helps the channel a lot. And if you want me to make a certain guide on something specific, let me know in the comments. I'm making guides for this game at the moment, and I'm enjoying the life out of this game. So if you also want to see me stream this on Twitch, I stream on Twitch. Catch me there. Otherwise, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.